Hello, Commanders fans. Today we have some exclusive news that you can't miss. So get ready because there's a lot of important information coming. Before we start, we'd like to take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and stay up to date with all the news about our Commanders. Don't forget to leave a like, which really strengthens our community and helps bring this content to those who are most passionate about the team. Now, without further ado, let's get straight to today's news. ESPN analyst believes Commanders will make a move for Browns' Myles Garrett. The Washington Commanders have been the pleasant surprise of the NFL in 2024. The Commanders went 12-5 in the regular season with a revamped coaching staff and roster led by Rookie of the Year quarterback Jayden Daniels, who led them to the NFC Championship game for the first time in 30 years after earning a wild card playoff berth. The Commanders were just one win away from reaching the Super Bowl, something no one, other than those inside the Washington locker room, envisioned going into this season. The future is bright in the DMV with the Commanders starting to look more and more like a contender that could win multiple championships over the next decade. With the success seen this season, the Commanders will have a lot of decisions to make on how to improve, and that will start with free agency, which is scheduled to open in March ahead of the NFL Draft in April at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. While those are the two main ways the Commanders are approaching their 2025 roster, they could also go the trade route. And according to ESPN personality and former player Marcus Spears, he believes the Commanders will look hard at trading All-Pro defensive end Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns, who recently publicly requested a trade while being the Eagles' top threat in the NFC next season. The Commanders could lose a number of players to free agency, and that includes 3 top defensive players who are not restricted this offseason in Dante Fowler Jr., Clelin Ferrell, and Jalen Holmes. A trade would make sense from a variety of perspectives, but if Washington sees itself as being well within the margin of competing for a Super Bowl, then they could easily make a big move like this since they have one of the highest salary caps to work with in the league. Garrett would make an immediate impact for the Commanders, despite being approaching 30 years old and in his 9th NFL season. He wreaks havoc every time he puts his fingers on the turf and is a nightmare for opposing offensive linemen. Over the course of his career, Garrett has racked up 352 total tackles, 116 for loss, 102.5 sacks, 20 forced fumbles, 17 passes defensed and 6 fumble recoveries, 1 for a touchdown, on his way to earning 1 Defensive Player of the Year, 6 Pro Bowls, and 4 All-Pros. Should the Commanders sign Bengals star wide receiver T. Higgins? The Washington Commanders are in a unique position this offseason, with significant cap space that allows for a number of strategic moves to strengthen the roster. One of the team's top priorities is finding a reliable number 2 wide receiver to play alongside star wide receiver Terry McLaurin, giving quarterback Jayden Daniels more offensive options to facilitate his development in the NFL. T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals has emerged as one of the most speculated names to bolster the Commanders' offense. While his signing may seem like a great addition to the team, the front office needs to proceed with caution and avoid getting into a bidding war that compromises its financial flexibility. T. Higgins' talent and concerns about his durability. Higgins has already demonstrated his talent throughout his NFL career, having recorded back-to-back seasons with over 1,000 receiving yards and being a key piece of the Bengals' offense. His physical size, ability to catch in traffic, and efficiency on intermediate and deep routes make him an attractive target for any team looking to bolster its receiving core. However, his production has been inconsistent at times, largely due to injury concerns. Higgins has missed significant time on the field in recent seasons due to injuries, raising concerns about his long-term durability. Investing heavily in a player who has not been available for every game could be a high risk for the Commanders, who still need reinforcements at other key positions. Higgins' cost and salary cap impact. Reports indicate that T. Higgins could be seeking a contract in the $30 million per year range, which would make him among the highest-paid receivers in the league. Some analysts believe that amount could be even higher, depending on the competition among interested teams. The problem for the Commanders is that committing a significant portion of the salary cap to Higgins could limit their options to bolster other areas of the roster, such as the offensive line and defense. Furthermore, given Higgins' production in recent years, paying such a high amount may not be the best financial decision. While he has shown talent, He has not been as reliable or productive as other receivers who have received multi-million-dollar contracts in recent years. This type of investment could make it difficult to retain key players in the future, such as the possible renewal of Terry McLaurin, who remains the team's leading receiver. Should the Commanders invest in Higgins? If Washington is truly interested in T. Higgins, the deal needs to be handled carefully. The ideal would be to get a contract in the range of $24 to $28 million per year, which would reflect his true market value without drastically compromising the team's budget. If the amount exceeds this limit, the Commanders could end up hurting their long-term plans and making it harder to build a balanced and competitive team. The front office will need to evaluate whether Higgins is truly the missing piece to boost the offense, or if there are smarter and more financially sustainable alternatives on the market. While Higgins could be an excellent addition, the team should avoid making hasty decisions that could impact their salary flexibility and jeopardize their future in the league. NFL analyst projects Commanders' extortionate trade package for Deebo Samuel. It didn't take long for the Washington Commanders to emerge as a potential landing spot for Deebo Samuel, as the wide receiver was granted a trade request by the San Francisco 49ers. Whether they show any real interest is another question. The dots connect. Samuel was drafted in the second round when Adam Peters was a key figure in San Francisco's front office. The Commanders' general manager won't need a scouting report to know the player's strengths and weaknesses. He's seen enough of that for himself. Washington is ready and prepared for an aggressive offseason. Its ambitious project is well underway, and there's a need to cash in on quarterback Jaden Daniels' rookie contract. It's sooner than expected, but the Commanders' window is wide open. What it would take to sign Samuel is anyone's guess. The Niners won't give him away, even if they make him surplus to requirements. But his regression last season and the fact that he's almost 30 years old mean a high-profile draft pick is out of the question. Deebo Samuel trade package is too expensive for the Commanders. Ben Strauss of Clutch Points took a look at what the trade package could look like. The Commanders would get Samuel and a 7th-round pick from the Niners. They would give up a 2025 third-round pick and a conditional late-round pick in 2026 to get the deal done. Washington is in a strong position to be able to trade for Samuel. He currently costs $15.9 million against the cap for the 49ers. However, to make any potential trade a reality, the Commanders may have to agree to extend Samuel after acquiring him. That's because Samuel's existing contract has several void years after the 2025 season. If Washington is convinced that Samuel is worth trading for, they could certainly afford to keep him. Admittedly, this trade scenario is tough to figure out from an outside perspective. Deebo's murky contract status makes it hard to determine his value on the trade market. Ben Strauss, the Commanders can ask. If that's the asking price, it shouldn't go any further. San Francisco doesn't have much leverage in the negotiations. They want to get Samuel's contract off the books. They want to extract maximum value, but that means taking on most of his salary to get the deal done. If the price drops to a 4th or maybe a 5th-round pick, that's more intriguing. Commanders fans are divided on the prospect of Samuel joining the fold. He would be a sensational addition at the height of his powers, but it's been a long time since his All-Pro campaign of 1,770 yards and 14 touchdowns in 2021. Luckily for the Commanders, they have the best person possible to determine whether or not this is a viable option. Peters will know how much wear and tear there is on the player. He will know what kind of fit he would have in the locker room. He will also know what an acceptable price would be from a compensation standpoint for the South Carolina product. Every option will be considered, and the Commanders will turn over every stone in search of improvements. Samuel is a good player, but not at that price.